Well, we might as well go ahead and get a head start on the next one. What's going on, Canes fans? Man, it felt good to bury Jimbo in the backyard, but I'm running into a bit of a problem. I'm starting to form a full-on graveyard back there, and I'm kind of sort of running out of room. If you know, you know. But anyways, before we jump into today's preview, make sure that you leave some sort of comment down in the comment section below. It can literally be anything, and I mean it could literally be anything, because I know that, you know, that's kind of sort of a running joke when people say that, and it is funny, okay? It is. But leave some sort of comment down in the comment section below to be entered to win some free Coach Coop Cane for Life wristbands. It says Coach Coop on one side and Cane for Life on the other. And the way that you can win these is literally just leave a comment and I'll pick a random winner. And I did go through and reply to the winners on last week's Texas A&M preview, so double check your notifications here on YouTube. And if you have a comment reply from me letting you know that you won some of the wristbands, make sure that you hit me back with some information so I can get those out to you. So this game is actually going down this Thursday, not Friday, not Saturday, but Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So it's going to be a short week to prepare for this one for both the team and myself. Now, luckily it is Bethune-Cookman, so we're not sweating too much over it, but it is definitely crunch time. Normally where I would have a full, 5 or 6 days to pump out content, we got to do it in 2 or 3. So, we're going to be getting busy. Really, the big storyline going into this game is how long we will see the starters, both on offense and defense, if at all, depending on which position we're talking about. There is a chance maybe that at some of the positions, especially due to injuries, that it's 2s and 3s playing the entire game. I kind of feel like that would possibly be doubtful because, again, you don't want to downplay any opponent no matter what the caliber of competition is. So I do think that you want some reps for most of the starters as long as they're not dealing with injuries. Go ahead and build up a little bit of a lead, and then maybe by the second quarter and beyond. But if we don't have a substantial lead, I mean, you know how this works. And speaking of injuries, I'm happy to report that Cam Kinchens looks okay. He has tweeted, the University of Miami has tweeted, and lots of people have been posting pictures of him smiling in the hospital bed. But I don't want to jump to any conclusions and provide any extra details here. It wouldn't be right for me to do so. I'm sure that when they're ready to release more information, if they even decide to do so, that they will do that. But it is good to hear that he's okay. They're not talking about surgeries or any long-term effects from his injury. We'll also be keeping a close eye on Mesidor, Dean, and Mark Fletcher. All 3 of those guys had to come out of the game against the Aggies because they sustained some type of injury. And look, guys, I get it. This is Bethune-Cookman. I fully understand. I know this game isn't going to be as hype. I know also that it's on a weekday, which makes it even more difficult to be hype about it. But let's bring that same energy for this game. Me personally, I'm always excited to watch the Canes take the field. And it's still very early in the season. And it's a huge opportunity for the younger guys to get some playing time under their belt. Guys that might be 2 or 3 in the rotation, and they're excited to play. So let's show those guys some love, and I'm going to bring that same energy on the channel this week. We're going to do the call-in show. It's going to be hyped up. Every single game counts, and I want to enjoy all of them. But I also don't want to jump up here and hype this thing up to make you think that Bethune-Cookman stands a chance in this one. I mean, Josh Gaddis and his offense put up 70 on those guys last season. So if you were to sit down and crunch the numbers, that would mean that we should put up around 140 this year. Real talk, though, let's get into some details about Bethune-Cookman and their season so far this year. We're not putting up 140 points. I mean, I don't think we are. I've not seen that before, but let's get into it. Bethune-Cookman is 1-1 so far in this season. They lost to Memphis in week 1, but they did beat Savannah State last week. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about that game because it's Savannah State. They're in the SIAC conference. And in case you didn't know, that stands for Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. I had to look it up too. Before that, they played an AAC team, Memphis, and they lost 56-14. So with that being said, what do you think is going to happen when they play an ACC team? Yeah, you're getting it. Speaking on Miami for a moment though, this is also the perfect game to see if we can improve on our discipline. Even though we took care of business against the Aggies, there were definitely some miscues and frustrations that caused some really stupid penalties. I mean, we had 10 penalties for 115 yards, literally the entire length of the football field and then some. So in the future, that amount of penalties could cost us a game. Literally. And I'm sure Mario will be driving that home this week, and he's going to want to see a much more disciplined football team on Thursday. And of course, we take no opponent lightly. You respect every team that you play. And by respect, I mean you prepare like you're about to play the number 1 team in the country, because you don't want to get caught sleeping, because we all know, unfortunately, from real personal experience, what can happen if you do so. And luckily, I know that that's Mario Cristobal's mindset as well. All you need to do is just listen in on his press conference from today. That'll tell you all you need to know. So anyways, let's take a quick look at the history between these two teams. Miami and Bethune have faced off 6 times in total, with Miami winning all 6. The most recent game was last season with a final score of 70-13. And luckily this week we actually have some average stats for both of these teams that we can look at. So what I'm going to do is put a little graphic image here up on your screen, and just keep in mind that I round the numbers up or down respectively. So far in the 2023 season, Bethune-Cookman's average points per game coming in at 23, Miami 43. Points allowed against them per game, Bethune 31, Miami 18. Average yards gained so far this season per game for Bethune, 239. Miami, a whopping 472. Yards allowed against them, Bethune, 412. Miami, 324. With all of that out of the way, it's now time for 3 keys to a victory for both of these teams. And I'm going to kick it off with the Miami Hurricanes. Coming in at number 1, continue to take what the defense gives us. We ran for 350 yards in game 1, but we were forced to pass more often last week to exploit that Aggies defense. Now, luckily, this is Dawson's mindset. You know, he loves to make adjustments on the fly throughout the game, and it shows because we tried to run the ball against the Aggies, and it just wasn't quite there. We went tempo, we went more vertical, and it worked. So just be ready and willing to take what they give us. We ran for 305 on them last season. So worst case scenario, I would say that it's safe to say we can probably just line it up with Bethune-Cookman and outmuscle those guys. Number 2, don't play down to the competition. We should bring the same energy that we did against the Red Hawks and A&M. Every single game matters on this schedule, and every game is big for us. And lastly, any fans that can make it to the game should go. Now, I understand that it's tough because it's on a Thursday night and a lot of people have to work the next day. So it's understandable that the turnout probably won't be as large as it was against A&M. But you could really tell that the players were feeding off of that crowd noise and energy last week. So, you know, if you have maybe a sick day in your back pocket, you know, you could possibly call in and show some love to these Miami Hurricanes players on Thursday night. And now 3 keys to a victory for the Wildcats in this one. And I'm not going to lie, this was very hard to come up with, but we're doing our best out here. Number 1, you have to be willing to throw everything and the kitchen sink at Miami. Bethune-Cookman will have to be willing to take big chances if they want to hang with the big boys. Number 2, limit the turnovers. They actually only had 1 against Memphis, but Miami's offense will make you pay this year, especially if it sets us up with favorable field position. Turnovers are probably equaling points, even if it's just 3. It's probably going to be points for the Canes. And lastly, back by popular demand from week 1, pray. You're going to need all the extra help you can get. I can promise you that. And now it's time for the most popular and controversial part of the video. My score prediction. But first, we always have to take a look at the ESPN matchup predictor. They have Miami's chances at winning this game coming in at 99% and the Wildcats at 1%. I think that the ESPN matchup predictor would like to make that 100-0, but I literally don't think it's possible. I think it has to be at least a minimum of 1% for the other team. Don't quote me on that, but I'm just guessing. Now, normally after that, I also like to mention the betting lines for this game, but at the time of filming this, they have not been set yet. Now, as you guys know, I hired a team of people to analyze my score predictions, and they approved my one last week, and it was wrong. Now, with that being said, I dumped some more money into this and purchased them a whole new lab because they were complaining about it was some sort of mechanical malfunction, something about a blown fuse on a flux capacitor or something along those lines. I don't know. I'm not a mechanical guy. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. So that's not my thing. I'm here to talk football, but you know, I'm spending the big bucks on the channel this season. I purchased them an entirely new lab. So let's check in. Well, hello again, college football fans. It is I, the scientist, doctor guy. And for this week, Coop informed us that after incorrectly approving a score prediction last week, that maybe the viewers might respect us a little more if we wore a whistle. So, but good news, everyone. We have soldered on a new flux capacitor. So everything should be good to go for approving this week's score prediction. And Coop is such a kind, generous, handsome man. Even after the issues with last week, he purchased us this brand new lab. He burned down the last one. We barely had time to get out of it. But I think he meant well because he bought us this place. It's a little smaller. It's a bit of a downgrade. We're kind of cramped, but we can get done what we need to get done. So given the fact that I am both a scientist and a doctor, you all know that means that you can trust me. And I would like to let you know that after crunching some numbers and punching the flux capacitor into overdrive this week, I can confidently say that Coop's score prediction has been approved. So now that we've broke out the official prediction board, let me take just a moment to explain how this thing actually works for all of the people with limited brain cells, because apparently it's a scary amount of people. It's really a lot more than I initially realized. And it's because of this, right? I predicted a loss last week against the Aggies. I, needed the team to show me. But people need to understand that this is neutral Coop making these predictions. My Canes pride and emotions are over to the side. That's just the way that I do these predictions. It's the way I've done them for the last few years. I don't go full-blown homer mode. And if you're not able to do that, if you say, Coop, I can never predict against my Canes, I want you to know that that's A-okay. You just need to remember that we're in two totally different positions. Now, with that being said, I still think you know where this week's score prediction is going, so let's go ahead and fill out the board here. I have the Miami Hurricanes putting up 62, and the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats putting up a measly 6 points. Whether you want to say that's 2 field goals or a touchdown and a missed extra point, that's up for you to decide. But let's go ahead and make it official. And drop the W there on the board. Now, there's probably a couple of questions here, though, and I get it. Only 62, Coop? Josh Gaddis's offense put up 70 last year. There's no way this much improved team only puts up 62. That's a good argument. It is, and you might be right. But you do need to remember that we're going to be rotating in a lot of young guys. I personally don't think we play the starters for too long. We don't want to chance any injuries. We kind of saw, that happen a little bit in the Aggies game. But that's a very different situation and scenario. That's a bigger game. But I expect a lot of rotating in younger guys, and it's very rare that you see college football teams putting up 80 plus, 90 plus points. Has there ever been a team that scored triple digits? I don't think so. That's actually an interesting question. Let me know if you know that, but I don't think so anyways. I know a week or two ago, Oregon put up like 81, but I don't see it. I love Dawson's mentality. If you missed the interview, Shannon Dawson said basically, I'm going to keep attacking. You get conservative, you get beat. And you guys know I've always screamed and yelled from the top of my lungs, keep your foot on the gas. I'm not a fan of kneeling it. If you're a yard away and there's 10 seconds left in the game and the clock's not running, you're winning by 21, punch it in. I don't care. Foot on their throat always. I don't care about this respect and disrespect argument. But with that being said, I think 62 is a pretty good amount of points, and I think that we'll take care of business easily, very easily. The only issue basically we're going to run into is we're going to run out the prediction board. Like, look at how did it shift? Like the W's and L's are getting smaller, the numbers are getting bigger, and they're all out of whack. I don't know what the heck's going on with that. We're going to have to figure out a way to fix that. But make sure that you guys leave a comment on this video to be entered in to win some of the free wristbands. And I'm still excited. I'm still really, really excited for this game. The call-in show will be on Wednesday night, which is going to be really, really weird. Nobody hit on the score prediction contest last week, so the $200 is still up for grabs for this game, so you definitely want to call in on Wednesday night. Probably no Inside Insight video this week. That's a new series I do on the channel, but there are no content creators for Bethune-Cookman, and even if there were, I'm pretty sure if I reach out to them, they would probably decline. I'm just guessing, but they probably would. So anyways, let's enjoy this week, guys. Let's bring that energy. Let's have some fun. Remember, though, guys, we're all one big happy college football family, but at the end of the day, I got to say, it's always better when you get to rep the U. Coach Coop, peace out. I'll see y'all in the next one. Yep. Oh, yeah.